All right, everybody's worried. Everybody's worried in Los Angeles. Laker fans, you can't front. It looks ugly right now. It looks ugly right now. Now, I know there's always going to be a camp of people that feel like, all right, well, we're chilling, right? LeBron's in sleep mode, conserving energy, and they've clinched, and we gonna be all right, right? There's always that camp. There's always the optimistic, oh, why are you panicking camp with any fan base at any time, and then you swing to the other side of the pendulum, and there's always the fans that are like, I don't know, man, I'm nervous. What's wrong with LeBron's groin? AD, he's not a dog, right? I don't trust KCP or Danny Green. And it always kind of swings somewhere in between, right? There's a middle ground. It's not black and white. There's a gray area of what usually is. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know, right? But I do think there is reason for concern with this Lakers team. Now, I think the question is, and everybody is pointing out, why are they shooting the three so poorly? I've come up with a couple theories. It's like, well, maybe LeBron's lack of aggression is generating dirtier shots, right? LeBron is chilling, and we've seen this mode from him before. We know this is an aggro, zero dark 30 mode LeBron right now, right? And, with his lack of aggression, maybe the shots. And then you look at the opponents, right? Like no one shoots the three ball well against Toronto. So the first guy I went and looked at all of Danny Green's threes. And, Danny Green, I don't have to tell you how important he is going to be to this run. I do want to point out that last year for Toronto, he was ice cold. But when they needed him, he had some big games. And if you look at the history of Danny Green and his shooting, it's feast or famine, right? His percentages, you always think of him as around a 40% three-point shooter. But you go back and you look at his box scores, and it's either like a 5 of 7 night or a 0 of 6 night. There's nothing in between, right? It's not a balanced, consistent performance from Danny. And so that's concerning if you're a Lakers fan. Then you look at him, he's 33 years old. Despite what those legs look like, I know it looks like he sleeps sitting up on a horse, right? With them trotting ass bow legs. But, whenever you look at a shooter who uses a lot of leg and a lot of elevation like Danny Green does, the older he gets, the more of a problem it becomes. And I know a lot of you will point to Ray Allen and JJ Redick, and they're outliers, right? They're anomalies, guys that jump a lot, elevate high, and still shot well late into their 30s. Danny Green's a little bit bigger of a guy. He's asked to do a little more defensively. And, he's got a funky style. He drifts with it. But I went back and looked at all his threes in the bubble thus far, and a lot of them are clean. He's getting clean looks. He's not knocking them down, but this is kind of who Danny Green is. Right? There's going to be a game, Laker fans, where he hits 6, 7 threes and bails y'all out. And then there's going to be other games where he's 1 of 9. And so I think it's up to Frank Vogel to maybe pull the plug on him early when he's not in rhythm. But then can he do so defensively? Because ultimately, what are we talking about? We're jumping ahead. We're jumping to conclusions. But it damn sure looks like we're getting a Portland-Los Angeles Lakers first-round matchup. I know the NBA wanted Zion, and we're not going to get that. In today's NBA Now pod, if you go check out that full version of it, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you want to get your podcast, you can get it. I'll go a little more in depth with the disappointment that is the New Orleans Pelicans. But this video right here is about the Lakers and about the Blazers. And it's my perspective now. You may call me a hater. Call me what you want. Oh, you're a Warriors fan. Of course you want the Lakers to fail. Actually, if you've been paying attention, I said it after Kobe's passing. I was like, you know what? I hope the Lakers get this one this year. I don't have a horse in the race this year, obviously, with Golden State. And I thought it would be dope for Kobe. And you'd say, well, how can you do that as a Warrior fan? Let me explain something to you. So I'll be 37 in November. And being a lifelong Warriors fan, the Warriors and the Lakers in my lifetime have never been good at the same time. This dynasty that the Warriors have just been on, right? The Lakers haven't been good. And when the Lakers in the early 2000s, Shaq, Kobe, the Warriors, it wasn't even competitive. They used to come in and kick our teeth, and we used to just go see Kobe and Shaq. It wasn't about trying to win the game, right? I mean, the Antoine 51 was fun, right? But that's my point. I don't have necessarily as much venom as you may think as a Warriors fan towards the Lakers because we've never been competing for a title at the same time. And maybe moving forward, that will change. So look, Laker fans, I'm not hating on y'all, but I'm here to tell you there's a lot of reason for concern against this Blazers team. Sometimes it's lightning in a bottle. What's the saying? Timing is everything, right? And I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, right? It's a saying for a reason. And let's talk about this Blazers team. Let's start with the head of the snake, Damian Lillard. Are we seeing Dame in his final form? Because, we know about the scoring and the deep pull-up, but now he's seemingly finding a balance of getting others involved, when to attack, picking his spots, conserving his energy, playing a little more defense. And part of it is maturity, right? He's had to learn from his mistakes, but the other part of it is I think he's probably feeling right now like he's never had this much help. He's never had this healthy of a team in this situation. And then they're kind of playing with house money because no one expected this. There's not much pressure on him, so it builds for an ideal situation. Another point that I haven't heard brought up is I've heard, well, this 4 months off, right? What has that done for Giannis? What has that done for Harden? What has it done for LeBron? Or what has it not done? But Dame and CJ are the smallest star duo in the league, right? They're the smallest guys. And I know maybe you're thinking, okay, well, they're smaller, so they stay in shape. They're lighter, they're in better condition. But they take more of a beating because they're little guys. They're more or less normal sized men. So I think that people aren't realizing maybe how much good it did their star backcourt to have this 4 months off because they're little guys. And then they're also shot creators. Styles determine your endurance and your longevity as an athlete, right? And both Dame and CJ, they're so fun to watch, but they use a lot of juice to get done what they get done. And so this 4-month layoff, I think, has benefited them just as much as it's benefited anybody else in the league. And look, there's a lot of reasons here. So all of a sudden now, with Collins and Nurkic healthy, they have this giant front line to match up against the Lakers' giant front line. You bring Whiteside off the bench. We could have 4 7-footers in the game at one time during this series. It's funny how this is a league of small ball now, but this is going to be a big series matchup. And all of a sudden, Portland seems to have the artillery to match the Lakers. Now, that's fine. Anthony Davis, maybe he can feast, but at least there's big bodies in there, right? And let's start with Nurkic here. What's super impressive about Nurk and where that 4 months, I think, really helped him, because I know he was getting ready to return before the pandemic hit, right? But when you have an injury like that, I go back to Paul George, I go back to Gordon Hayward. Who's the kid at Louisville? Where, right? There's several images embedded in my brain of those compound fractures. Nurk's, I remember hearing it. That's what was crazy about Nurk. You heard it, right? Anyway, beyond physically healing, there is a psychological trauma to an injury like that takes a long time to get over on the basketball court. And Nurk seems to be over it. There's no fear, right? Like, you could make the argument Gordon Hayward is still getting over it. It took PG some time. PG, it's finally starting. I think halfway through that OKC season, he started to feel confident. But Nurk came out the gate like it never happened. And that's probably the most impressive thing about his return. And I think that 4 months helped. I think extending the thirst to get back on the court probably helped get rid of any doubt or fear left in his mind. Plus, it's just how he's built, right? The Bosnian bear. And look, I'm not trying to say he's going to match up and go blow for blow with Anthony Davis, but he's a big body that's going to make you work. He's got the jump hook over either shoulder, and then he's a space eater in there. He's not going to vertically protect the rim like a JaVale or an Anthony Davis, right? But he's a big body. He's going to be in front of the rim. And also there's a fear factor. And what I mean by that is, he may not meet you at the top of the square and block your dunk, But when you elevate around him, he might clip you out of the air. And I'm not calling him dirty. I'm just saying he's playing the role of what a big rim protector should be. You shouldn't want to go in there fearlessly and try to yam on a center who's protecting the rim. Like, yo, I might get put on my butt. And that he does provide that element because of how physical he is and because he's a space eater. Beyond him just being a big body and a rim protector, that's not his calling card, right? That's not his superpower. But I think the most important thing is he appears to be Portland's third guy. How long have they been searching for a third guy? I know they maybe thought it was him and then the injury, right? But you don't know how a guy is going to come back from that. And he seems to be a viable third option. He sets massive screens for those two to get off, right? And then he can catch in the high post and make passes. At some point, like we've seen with all other series against Dame in Portland, they're going to start sending a hard trap at Dame, right? And in the past, it's been very successful. Ask Anthony Davis when he was in New Orleans. They don't have Rondo right now. They don't have Drew Holiday. But you've seen it throughout the bubble already. Teams are going to send a hard trap at Dame to try to disrupt him. And in the past, frankly, it's been his Achilles heel. But now, all of a sudden, you put Nurk in the middle of the floor for those, and all of a sudden, he has a big safety valve. A guy that can pass from the high post. He can score. Now, the only thing he's lacking is a pop, right? He's not going to shoot it from out in range, but he's going to get the ball in the middle of the floor. And I think Stouts and I think Dame, most importantly, is confident and comfortable with him making decisions in the middle of the floor. So what you're doing essentially is it's like you're giving your quarterback a big Pro Bowl tight end that you can just check down to. And so I think that trapping that we've seen of Dame in the past isn't going to be as effective with his maturation and Nurkic as a big check down safety valve in the middle of the floor. But it doesn't stop there. Look, Laker fans, have I convinced you to be worried enough yet? No, it doesn't stop there. That's not just it. What you know about Gary Trent Jr.? I'll tell you, he's shooting 41% from three. Prototypical 3-and-D wing. The new Danny Green. Right? Too bad the Lakers have the old Danny Green. But Gary Trent Jr., look, 6'5", what is he, maybe 205, 210 pounds? And he doesn't have the size to guard LeBron. He doesn't have the size to guard the Kawhis and the Paul Georges. And so you'd love for him to have that. Maybe that's the only thing he's missing, but he's one of those right place, right time guys, right? His timing, he just gets it. And he seems like he's just going to be an ideal fit for this Blazer team because he doesn't need the ball, right? He seems to be just fine spotting up in the corner, weak side shooter. And then defensively, he digs in and he gives them a toughness that they're sorely lacking. Not only did they land him, 2018 37th pick. So that's a steal right there, right? That's found money. Now, all of a sudden, he's an integral part of your rotation, adding to your depth. But now, all of a sudden, it seems like Portland's got Olympic Melo. Right? Like, we've been waiting for Olympic Melo. Like, this is 5 years too late, but hey, better late than never. All of a sudden, he's an efficient pick your spot scorer. And don't think for a second, he's not going to have more juice going up against his banana boat brother in LeBron. Is this the first time that they will face off in a playoff? I'm sure we'll see them switched on each other and have a little side story of that. But ultimately, look, man, it's like, If you want me to simplify things, the reason why this is a terrifying matchup for the Lakers is you're dealing with a team where their two stars, Dame and CJ, Anthony Davis and LeBron, can't directly really affect them. The Lakers are relying on their other players to match up against the other team's two stars. And that's very problematic. Now, back to the Lakers and LeBron. I'll admit it, I can't tell you how many times, whether it's just out of an all-star break or the start of a season or he's taken some time off and he comes back and I go, man, this is it, right? Father time. He's looking kind of slow. And then you figure out, oh, he's pacing himself. And so I'm not going to be fooled. Again, I'm not saying he's not doing it this time. But the reality of the situation is if he doesn't start getting more aggressive and he's not able, more importantly, if he doesn't find confidence in his jump shot, in his perimeter game, and he can't make threes, Portland's going to turn this into a 3-point shootout. And that's going to be a problem because, again, we already talked about it at the top. The Lakers can't hit the broadside of a barn from downtown. So we talked about Danny Green, right? Is it the legs? And this is kind of who he is. He's hot and cold. Let's move to Contavious Caldwell-Pope. I have a little more confidence in him moving forward. I went back and looked at his shots in the bubble, and he hasn't got as clean of looks, right? When he's in that left corner, that's his specialty area, and he's set, his feet are squared, and he can get there quick and do it in a hurry. He doesn't need a lot of time to set up. It looks like he'll knock that down. I'm more confident in him consistently knocking those corner threes down, and then he attacks out of that left corner. He has that right-hand scooping layup that he's mastered. So I think a lot's going to be on KCP, not just offensively to hit those corner threes, but how are you going to make things tough for that backcourt as well, right? Now, the one disappointing thing I think if you're Portland is you go, damn, sure could have used Ariza. Ariza, the wily vet, one of the best old man games in the league right now if you've watched him, but just to match up with the big body on LeBron. I don't know if they're going to try to throw Melo on him or what they're going to do, but to me, this is a series where LeBron is going to have to dominate, and he may have to do it from the perimeter because of, again, all of a sudden, Portland with all this front court depth. Whiteside, Collins, Nurkic, those are big bodies, and we know LeBron's not elevating like he used to. He's more of doing it with physicality. He's getting in there and kind of bulldozing through people. I'm not sure he's going to bulldoze Nurk or Whiteside, right? And so that's going to push him out to the perimeter. And now, again, we're looking at a series where it's like a shootout from the perimeter. That's not what you want to do against the pride of the town, Dame Lillard, and CJ, his sidekick, man, he's taking ankles. He has the most underrated handle and footwork in the league. I'm going to say it again. But every time I turn on Portland, he's snatching somebody's ankles, right? And so this is a problem, man. And what do you do if you're the Lakers? Vogel, I like that Vogel isn't sugarcoating or bullshitting. You can see that he's kind of concerned, man. And it's like you don't want to be too concerned. You need to have confidence, but he ain't BSing. And he's hinted at some lineup changes. To me, I think that you got to go AD at the 5, and it's either going to be Kuzma or Morris in there as the other forward. I don't really care. However you want to defend it and how you're going to do it, you probably say, all right, AD's got to be on Nurkic, right? Because I don't know that you can have JaVale or Dwight coming out on those pick and rolls, right? I don't know if you could have. I think you need AD, Kuzma, LeBron, or Markieff out there as far as that pick and roll action with Dame. I don't want Dwight or McGee 35 feet from the basket. I think that's going to be just a huge problem, right? Then my other thought was, well, you know what? What if they approach it like, all right, we're going to let Dame just go off. We'll put KCP on him. We'll put Caruso on him. And we're going to drop, we're going to stay big and true to who we are. So JaVale, Dwight, they'll play and they'll drop maybe just below the 3-point line, but we're going to let Dame have all he can eat and see if he can do it by himself. I don't know if that'll be plan B, right? When the trapping doesn't work, or if that'll be plan A, I don't know. But I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments for Vogel to make throughout this series. But it's just going to be more of a series than they bargained for in the first round. Now, the silver lining, maybe it will make them better. Sometimes you see a team go through a series and they figure some stuff out. It makes them tougher. It builds camaraderie and it builds confidence. Like if Kuzma steps up and has a big series, right? He could ride that all the way through to the finals. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I also heard a theory out there that they've been taking L's because they don't want to see Houston. They don't want Houston in their bracket too because they kind of present the same problem, again, playing small, all their scoring coming from the perimeter where the Lakers are weak, right? They want to play a big team, right? Where they can go strength against strength. And so Portland and Houston present a lot of problems from the way they attack way beyond the arc. As soon as we get through these seeding games, it looks like we're going to get some duds here. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I wasn't really interested in Lakers Rockets without LeBron or Russ, right? But when we get this presumed matchup in the first round, you know where to come because I'm going to break down exactly what's going wrong, what's going right, and some of the details you're not going to get on this mainstream. Anyway, let's move on.